Great. So, good afternoon. Thank you for joining our session today on helping you understand what your potential could be. My name's Tarvinder Puri. I am the owner of DP Advisory Services. And over the course of the next 30 minutes, that I can offer, who can So the reason for recording that was to allow them the opportunity to play back and review and listen in to some of the advice that I'm sharing today. So welcome to everybody. Before we begin, I just wanted to explain that we do have an open chat on the webinar. So if any of you have any back to them towards the end of the webinar. Okay, so let's begin. When you're thinking about your future career, I can appreciate for most of you who are thinking about entering the workspace, it can be quite daunting. The world has significantly changed over the last couple of years in terms of how we approach considering future careers. And COVID has actually fundamentally changed our relationship with traditionally how we go about sourcing work, finding work, and actually has made employers think about differing ways that they could engage with people to measure them more on their output rather than presenteeism. So lots of things have happened over the past few years. And what I'm planning to do over the course of this session is to give you some into things that you might want to think about. Thank you. So let me tell you a little about me and why I'm here to talk to you a bit more about careers and future choices. So my name's Tarvinder. I'm a graduate of economics, and over the past couple of decades, I've spent a considerable amount of time in the field of human resources, helping organizations across the world really develop their people strategy. So as a young graduate, similar to some of you, I was trying to navigate, how do I get into the world of work? And it's really interesting. So when I finished my economics degree towards the end of it, I was applying for lots of graduate schemes. And I applied for one within a bank. And 3,500 people applied for this graduate program. And during the course of the assessment process, they took on 31 of us. And I was fortunate enough to be selected. And I moved to London and I trained to be a bank manager with this bank. So I spent a couple of years really developing my skills and experiences around how do you manage finance? How do you manage systems? How do you manage people and motivate them? And throughout the course of my experience of working, I have had lots of different exposures to retail. And I've taken all that learning from what employers are looking for, and I've channeled that into helping students to think about their future careers, not just about from getting you from schools to university, but thinking more long term. How do you get from thinking about being a student to actually landing your dream job? That's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm really passionate about, providing you with some real credible commercial experience and insight into what you might want to do in the future. So So as a working mom, I have a young family myself, and I understand the challenges and complexity that with juggling the day to day, let alone thinking about what you want to do in the future. And typically, people have differing ideas, and they range from your parents will have a perspective around what you might want to do in the future. You might have an opinion about what you want to do in the future. And typically, your careers advisors, your teachers will also have a perspective around what you want to do in the future. And sometimes it can be quite challenging to think about a future career when you don't necessarily have a lot of work experience to anchor that idea around. So what I always advocate to people who are thinking about what they want to do is, first of all, let's begin by understanding yourself. Understand what your drivers are. What are your natural preferences? And use that as kind of your start point when you're thinking about your future career. So what do we mean by understanding personality? Everybody is individual, and everybody approaches problems and thinks about things from different perspectives. And I think it's particularly useful for you to understand yourself better before you then decide what future career you want. So let me give you a really simple example. It's quite important that you understand how you like to think and approach problems, because once you can understand that about yourself, you then can apply that to a future career. So the example I normally share with people is, listen, you might go to a store and buy a table, and you might be the kind of person who brings home that table, opens up the box and lays everything flat on the floor. You check that all the contents are actually in the box. You check that there is the right number of legs and pins to make your table. Then you might diligently follow the instructions on how to construct your table. I, on the other hand, might be the kind of person that goes out to buy the same table. I bring home exactly the same table, but I rip. Even the why you're not following the instructions, my response might be, well, I know what a table looks like. Why would I need to follow the instructions? I can use my initiative. I can use my natural ability to think about things from a big picture perspective. And that's what we mean by trying to understand what your personality is. There's no wrong, there's no right. It's just understanding yourself better. So personality is a great way to think about what your natural preferences are. And they help us to decide what you might enjoy doing more of and what you might enjoy doing less of. We typically have a number of personality traits inherently within us. So I know my personality trait is I really enjoy the company of people. I enjoy socializing, and I really enjoy meeting people. And I'm really fortunate that I found something in life that I enjoy doing, working with people, and I'm really good at it. And I naturally have an affinity to helping people grow. Other people might not necessarily have that same passion, but there's definitely going to be a career for them in the future that's more suited to their skills and makes you think about the environment that you might want to go into. I'll give you another specific example around why personality might be quite important when you're thinking about future careers. So most recently, my husband was thinking in his work of recruiting somebody who wanted to work in sales. And we did a personality profile as part of that assessment process to think about future careers. And it was really insightful because this individual didn't really enjoy being parts of big teams. They were quite introverted naturally. They were quite happy working on their own. They didn't particularly enjoy meeting strangers or selling concepts and ideas. It was really helpful when we sat down as part of the interview process to explore what their preferences were. Because typically, if you want to work in sales, you naturally have to be out there talking to people, to strangers, explaining your ideas, working with lots of different teams who might be placed all around the world. And if that doesn't come to you naturally, that might not be the best role for you. So personality profiling can give you that insight into the types of work environments that are better suited to you as an individual. So I'm not trying to overshadow the fact that we've just come through a huge pandemic that affected millions of students across the world. And many students and parents have come to talk to me to say, Tarvinder, how can I help my child think about a future career when there's been so much uncertainty in the world? And what I always answer back is, the world has changed significantly, and employers have also changed how they view typical standard processes when it comes to how we work. You've probably seen in the newspapers that employers are now shifting away from a very presenteeism culture where you have to physically be in the office to actually thinking about it's more about your output, what you deliver in that time. And as a consequence, employers are also thinking, how do they get the most out of people? Now, the pandemic has also made people think quite differently about the world of work themselves, and has made them really question what are the motivators. So the difference in terms of the careers advice that I'm giving you is to give you some insight in how do you go from physically being an online learner or working within a very small defined environment to then graduating, to then pursuing a career. It can seem quite difficult to navigate when you don't necessarily have that experience. And often people talk to me and say, Tarvinder, I want to be a marketing director, but I have no real insight into what that job involves. I just think I might enjoy it. So my role is to explain to them, well, actually, if you were working in that discipline, these are the types of skills you will develop. These are the types of things that you will be doing. And is that something you enjoy? Because again, I'm a great advocate of doing things you enjoy rather than doing things that you're compelled to do. So if you do things that you naturally enjoy, you will excel at it because it will require less effort and energy. It will come naturally to you rather than doing something which you probably don't enjoy so much and actually doesn't feel enjoyable in the process, if that makes sense. So my top tips around helping students to think about getting some exposure and some experience, even during times of COVID, where we might be restricted geographically to going out and getting more physical experiences, actually, the virtual world of work has really opened up and allows us to gain access to some of these opportunities from the benefit of your own home. Lots of employers are now offering internships virtually, which means you don't physically have to be sat in a different country. And again, as I explained, it's not just about being present in an office, it's actually showcasing what you can contribute to that team. Other ways of gaining experience is around doing volunteer work and developing the skills that future employers will be looking for. And there are some generic skills, such as working in a team, thinking creatively, communicating, which if you look at some of these top tips that I'm shared, you could definitely experience if you were to enter that. So again, what I advocate is think more creatively when you're trying to get experience and don't think you physically just have to go to a place of work to get that. And every time you do something such as volunteering or work experience, write it down. You want to build a CV of your skills and experience. So in the future, when you do go for an interview, you can tap into that skill. That could be an example of what you've done for your community and how you've grown in terms of your own understanding of a particular area, or how you've led a team, or how you've solved a particular problem. You can keep developing these skills and experiences, even here locally. So here are some interesting icons that I wanted to share with you, because this hasn't changed, even though the world of work sometimes you feel has gone 360. Let's be honest, employers are still looking to attract top talent. And that is really important to have at the front of your mind. In the same way that students want to go and find the best employers, employers also want to find the best students. And it's also quite a given that most people will apply to the world of work with a degree or with a piece of paper to show that they've got some kind of academic ability. My job is really to help you think about what is going to be the point of difference in what you bring to that employer. What are you doing above and beyond just a piece of paper? How can you showcase your talents, experiences, and skills to an employer to think, I'd rather employ Tarvinder than somebody else, because aside from their degree, they've got so much more, right? Employers also, as I said, have had to adapt to the way that they work. So a lot of workplaces nowadays are giving people the options to consider their work-life balance as well as their future of work. And from an employer's perspective, this gives people more opportunity to do stuff they enjoy outside of work, but also to have some control over their work environment. A significant number of students have decided to actually take up a placement year from the data that I've seen from last year. And that's due to a number of different factors. It could be due to the fact that because of COVID, some students didn't get their work permits on time, but actually it's given people an opportunity to just take a pause and think about what is it that they want to do once they finished university. And also looking at some of the trend statistics data from where students have gone locally here to various universities overseas. Universities are also shaping and changing their student offering to incorporate more work-related experiences to give students that more holistic approach. So it's not just predominantly academic focused, it also gives you an insight into the world of work. So this is the moment I'd just like to take a pause and get you really to think about, what is your passion? What is the thing that would get you up in the morning to really put fire in your belly and make you think, that's really what I want to do? Now, I'm really fortunate that in life I found something. And I only got to that point of understanding what my passion was through the experience. I've done lots of different jobs to get me to this point in time. And for many of you, you're starting that career journey now. So again, I would advocate you writing down, what is it that I really enjoy? Do I enjoy working with people, or do I actually prefer my own company? Do I enjoy fixing and solving problems? Do I really enjoy thinking quite creatively? Write it all down. If anything was possible, what would that dream job consist of? And write it down somewhere that you can keep going back to again and again. Almost kind of like your dream diary journal to give you an insight into you. So here's the opportunity for me to engage with a couple of amazing people who I helped along their own career journey. So I'd like to introduce Diya and Pari, both who I worked with over the course of their application to university. And I'm going to ask them a couple of questions around how they found the process. So I'm just going to unmute them now so you can hear from them.
Hi.
Hi, Diya. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So welcome to the webinar, Diya.
Thank you.
So Diya, hi, welcome. And do we have Pari on the call as well?
Yes.
Hi, Pari, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great to see you. So Diya and Pari, I'm going to ask you both the same question. What made you think about your personality preference when you were thinking about your careers? How did the conversations that you and I had help you navigate what you want to do in the future?
Yeah. I think for me, I wanted to just learn more about like myself and like where my skills are. And like I think talking to you and like being able to do all the tests like made me realize like I can follow like my passion and my dreams, like I guess, and I kind of learned how to do that like with the skills. I knew like where I can improve and I know like my strengths as well. So I think like working with you like really helped me figure that out. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And how about you, Puri? How did it help you?
I feel like it was very similar for fluctuating times where my motivation was either really high or really low when I first finished IB. And I was looking into lots of different courses, and I didn't actually know like what would really fit my preferences and my personality type. And I think having the test done with you really helped me. Even gaining like interview skills, because you also helped me city interview that I never actually expected some interviews do that. I mean, some universities do that with students.
Yeah.
So it was really a good way to like understand myself and how to also better sell my skills to the educational facility. Yeah.
I guess like remembering like when I was like in IB, like I had no like clue like what to do or like what I was even doing or where I was
Yeah.
going. But like talking to you, it felt like I'm doing like the right thing and like that I have potential, I guess.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to anybody who's thinking about their future career, but they're really confused about what they want to do long term? What would your advice be?
My advice would just be like to keep an open mind and to think about it like you're still like so young and like it's not about like finding a job, like it's about like learning and like taking this first step. You're just like learning so much about yourself and like it's and then you'll find your way to like the career that's like really meant for you. But just to keep like an open mind and like don't allow yourself to get too stressed over like
True.
Right. And
um
did you
yeah.
enjoy the process of learning more about yourself? Be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice. Like, I think when we did all the tests and stuff, I really enjoyed it because I was like, wait, like, the results it's like a better way of like understanding yourself. So, like, some things that maybe confused you before, you're like, oh, this makes so much sense. And like, you can kind of like apply it to like real life situations and all of that too.
Yeah,
Great.
definitely.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing your insight. Now I'd like to bring in a parent who's also got a perspective and talk to them. So welcome to the webinar, Bhavika, and thank you for spending some time with us this afternoon.
I hope you guys are well.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm so glad to be here. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. So Bhavika, you've got daughters yourself, and you've experienced how it feels as a parent sometimes, trying to help them to navigate going through this process of a future career. What did you find helpful when you were supporting them on their journey for what they want to do in the future? What made you actually decide to work with me? Oh, hello, is that clearer?
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just asking, what was your driver to get in touch with me to help your daughters thinking about their future career? What was it that instigated that conversation?
I think it more so had to do with to see what's out there. What is, like, I knew what maybe Pari was capable.
Yeah. Oh, we've lost a little bit of connection there.
Doing the Myers-Briggs personality test, and the in-depth explanation opened up to a vast variety of career options that I'm sure she didn't know that she was capable of. And a small conversation, and you explaining how your personality, plays a key part in, even choosing a career. Like you had explained, a simple example of that is how most people do their signature with their dominant hand.
Yes.
For me, let's say it's the right hand. And if I were to sign with a left hand, it wouldn't be accurate as the one of the dominant hand. But if I did practice hard enough, I could do it. Similarly, some careers come naturally. And it's just of course, you do require the intellect, but it really depends on your personality as well, that what you want to go into. And because this is something you'll be doing for the rest of your life, so it has to, it's just not a one-off decision. So it really is something that you like doing and you would like to do it for the rest of your life. Yes, that's what I feel. When we met you and had the whole conversation, and we came to realize that, oh my God, there's so many more options out there for Pari to choose from, which is something I wish I'd known earlier. We would have done the same similar thing with Natasha, but
she found her path. Great. Thank you for sharing that insight, Bhavika. That was really, really great. So in terms of where we are, that's all I wanted to cover in today's webinar, and give you an opportunity, if you have any questions, to please, the chat is open. If any of you do have any burning questions around the process of helping you understand your personality, I'm here to help. You can contact me through various forms. There is my website that you're more than welcome to check out. My company is called ADP Advisory. You can also see on my LinkedIn profile testimonies of people that have worked with me to help them understand their personality. And they don't necessarily just have to be based in Tanzania. I've supported students across the world, from Malawi to South Africa, to the UK, to Dubai, because everybody wants to understand themselves better, particularly the early start of their journey. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat. Otherwise, you can drop me an email or a message even afterwards if there's anything that you want to ask further. I'll leave the chat open for a moment in case anybody does have anything. Oh, so how does the personality assessment work? So typically, if you're interested in understanding more about your preference, you would contact me to say, Tarvinder, I'm interested in understanding the types of work that I would want to consider in the future. And then I would send you a link to a questionnaire. And the questionnaire would typically take you about 20 minutes to complete. And it's a range of questions, from, if you went to a birthday party, are you the first person to speak? Or would you wait for other people to talk to you? So these are questions to help you define the types of preferences that you would have naturally. Once you complete that online questionnaire, I am sent the report. Then I would contact you to say, thank you for completing it. Let's arrange a time to go through that together. And then I would debrief the findings of the report together for over an hour. So that's how it normally works. And you're more than welcome to have your parents join the session if you would want them to. And I will email the copy of the report to you as well. So you've got that for the future. And then some students have said, Tarvinder, once I've done the report, I'd like you to help me prepare for an actual interview, or I'd like you to help me understand myself a bit more. So we can definitely have follow-up sessions, but it's all very personalized. It's very individual to you. I hope that helps. Any more questions for anybody, or else shall we call it a wrap? I just wanted to say thank you so much to Diya, to Pari, and to Bhavika for sharing their insight and views and for giving up their afternoon for me today. I hope you found the session helpful. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for your time today. Take care. Bye.